What's going on, everyone? It's Mike back again, and this is your daily news video. I've started to say news video rather than transfer talks because there's just news. There's news. Let's get the transfers out of the way. A couple of surprise ones in there. Actually, do you know what? We'll mix it up today. We'll start with the press conference today. Rafa Benitez confirming that Calvert-Lewin will be available for Burnley. Positive news. It just appears that he's only one of 9 outfield players available for this game due to injuries and COVID, with 6 players being injured and 5 having COVID. It's laughable, actually, when you sit there and you think of the current situation. Leeds have a lot of injuries. I was speaking to Connor, my friend from One Leeds. Go and check him out if you're new to the channel or you don't know who Connor is. Really top lad. And I messaged him on WhatsApp and sent him a few voice notes. And from what he was saying, I don't understand why Everton's game has been allowed to go ahead, but Leeds has been postponed. It's not about Leeds or Everton. It's not about that clash or anything, but it's about the principles of the Premier League. And Everton are fundamentally putting players at risk. We've got 3 goalkeepers, which are all available, 9 outfield players, and the rest of the team will be kids, with 5 being promoted who are under 21 years old into the first team, and they've got the experience because they've sat on a bench once. It just doesn't make sense to me, the Premier League's ideology, because, when you bring in players back into this game like Calvert-Lewin, who have been out for 8 weeks, and you're saying, right, we need you back now for a demanding period, which involves a game on the 26th, a game on the 28th for the 29th, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, then you've got the FA Cup games. You sit there and you think, where's the consideration for players? And I know a lot of people say, oh yeah, they're on 200 grand a week, 100 grand a week. They earn more than enough money to put themselves through that. They shouldn't be playing if they're not fit, etc., etc., etc. But Everton have done everything right. Everton have asked the Premier League if they would consider postponing this game. We clearly need it. And they've just completely ignored it. They've just left it. And I can't get behind that. I can't support that. I can't agree with it. Everton's game, in my opinion, should be called off. And look, I'm sitting here now and I still suspect it'll be called off, because if we've got 5 COVID cases now, and they were after the Chelsea game, yes, the new rules is 7 days or whatever, but the Chelsea game was last week, and we are 7 days today. So they should be out of isolation on Friday at the latest, I think, if that's the way the new rules work. I remember you have to do a day, one of these lateral flow tests on the 6th and the 7th day. So technically these players should be available from Friday, in my mind, if I'm not losing my marbles, or today. So if there's still 5 out, you've got Christmas, where people are going to be mixing with families for the first time in a long time. Some players, some games have been called off on Boxing Day already. So, some players will have these, see more family than normal, etc., or have a bigger Christmas. So I think you'll see a lot of games called off, say, the 28th and 29th. I think you'll see a lot of games called off for then. But Boxing Day could be exactly the same, because when these teams are going to come back in before the game and they do their tests, they do their lateral flows or their PCRs or whatever they do before the game, I think you're going to have a lot more positives, which means if Everton have got 5 now, in 3 days' time it could well be 8, 9, 10. The Premier League will have to call it off. I cannot see this game going ahead. I really can't. And it would be a joke if it does. But look, I don't want to come across as Mr. Negative. I don't want any football. It's not about that. It's not right. It's not right, and there's no consistency in the league whatsoever between, teams that get games called off and teams that don't get games called off. Same thing happened last season with Manchester City. just before the game kicked off at Everton. I think it was like an hour before the game was abandoned or called off, or a couple of hours before. Now, again, I have no problem with games being called off, but last season, I don't think as many people had COVID as this season, and I ended up falling out with I actually fell out with a couple of Manchester City fan channels on. One in particular, which I've never spoken to since, and never will. Like, I just won't. Because he said that Everton were wrong for asking for more additional information about it, and I just thought that was pathetic. Whereas this situation is different. It's blatantly obvious Everton have had injuries for a long time, and we've now got COVID on top of that. When does it become unfit? When does it become a case of, are we just sticking our under-21s out? Is that what we're doing? Is this what the Premier League want us to do? If you can field 11 players, you are playing a game of football. Is that what we're getting down to? I think if we had clear guidelines, I think people would understand and accept it a little bit more. But just like everything with the FA in the Premier League, you have fuck all, You hear nothing, whether it be cup games, whether it be performances, in anything. You never understand what's going on with the Premier League. You never do, and you never will. And that's part of the joke of this football club. And it's been like that for ever, because they don't speak, they don't talk about it, I want to see some backbone. I want to see Everton go into the Premier League. You're a disgrace. How the hell can this fixture be played? But you never hear of that. You never hear of that. Jurgen the other night, he was moaning about the games and the fixture congestion, and then weirdly the day after his game's called off. Now that is weird, that is odd, that doesn't make sense. But what I will say to it, as a caveat to it, is the fact that he's moaned. He's moaned, and trust me, none of us like Jurgen Klopp. No blue really likes Jurgen Klopp. But what I will say is he does tend to get what he wants because he moans a hell of a lot. So, whether the grass is too long or whatever, he gets away with it. And a lot of the top six teams do. Because, weirdly, they seem to hold all of the power. These are six teams that tried leaving the Premier League and screwing them over, even though I actually think it would have been quite refreshing for football. You've got these teams who essentially dictate the league, and I think it does take teams with that history, that footballing history, to stand up to that. Everton were one of the breakaway clubs for the Premier League in the five that were there. I actually think, from what I remember, Everton were the instigator of the Premier League. Everton should say, you're taking the piss. You're taking the piss. You can't just have one rule for one and one rule for the other. But you see it consistently, and we're seeing it again last night and today, and I just see Everton just casually get fucked over by the Premier League constantly. Like, decisions, VAR, everything. So that's my takes on that. Anyway, let's get into some transfers. Everton have been linked with Daryl Dike, the striker who is being compared to Lukaku. He's scoring plenty of goals. Good player, American, fantastic really. He's got everything about him that you'd want. Good feet, good shot, good power, good physique, as in, terms of his ability to knock a man off the ball. So yeah, I mean, I'm not against it. It just depends on the price tag for these players. When they're in the Championship, how much do you really want to go and spend? And that's my argument. Patterson apparently is interested in a move to Everton as the young right back, and again, not against it. More than happy to see him come in and play in the blue shirt. I think he would be a good signing. I think he'd be a fantastic signing. I watched a few performances of his recently. He's got everything. He's got everything you want. He can defend. He's tenacious. He's got that little bit schneid about him as well. Can go up and down. Can cross the ball. Yeah, I really, really like him. Everton have also been linked with, and this is because Rafa Benitez apparently is desperate for a number 10. He has been linked with Philippe Coutinho. I'm fed up of hearing this. This guy falls into the Aaron Ramsey category. you know, constantly linked with him. It's never going to happen. It's not going to happen because of the amount of money the guy's on. It's not going to happen. Everton are not trying to reduce their wage bill gradually and then go and sign Philippe Coutinho, who's got probably no desire to do well at Everton. Like, what purpose has he got coming to Everton? You know, he gets paid a lot of money to play for Barcelona, or, you know, owned by Barcelona, etc. It doesn't make sense to me. So yeah, I can't see that one happening, to be honest. We've also been linked with midfielder Glenn Kamara from Rangers. Again, got the right attitude. He's a bit of a fighter. You know, we all saw and stood behind him, of course, with the incident that happened in the Europa League last season where he was racially abused, and there's no getting around that. I don't think Glenn Kamara is the answer for Everton, but he's a leader. He's a personality, and Everton do lack leaders and personality. So maybe he'd add a little bit of that into the mix, maybe. So yeah, so there's that. I thought it was interesting today, actually, because it was funny that Rafa Benitez was asked about Luca Dean and about, you know, whether he's part of the team, whether he's going to be involved in the game against Burnley, and the answer was yes. But he might find out the game before. There's something appears to have happened between Rafa and Luca Dean. Lots of speculation flying around about a bus stop, or about Luca Dean suggesting that he wants to leave, etc., and that he's not happy with Rafa as manager. Look, I don't want to jump on Luca Dean's defence, but what I will say is I would back Luca Dean before I'd back Rafa Benitez, and I'm leaving it there. I'm not going to go into it in any more real detail. But you know, if you was to say to me, you get to pick one out of the two, I'll pick Luca Dean. I'll pick Luca Dean over Rafa Benitez any day of any week, of any year, of any month, of any fucking decade. No problem. He would be the one that I would back. He hasn't been great for 18 months. His form's actually been pretty poor. But what Luca Dean does, I would say, is he gets the fans. And he's always seemed to have got the fans. And when Rafa made that point today about it's not about playing for me and for me, it's about playing for the fans, I never doubted that with Luca Dean. So I don't understand if, one, I've been completely wrong about Luca Dean, or two, Rafa's ringing him out to dry, or whatever the work term is. Doesn't make sense to me. So again, for me, Luca Dean, he if he's fit and if he's, you know, not ill or whatever's gone on, I want to see him against Burnley. And even if it's a last game for him, then I want to be able to say goodbye to him, because I have enjoyed Luca Dean being an Everton player, and I would wish him well, irrespective of what's happened with Rafa Benitez. I couldn't give a flying fuck when it comes to Rafa Benitez about what's happened. So I wish him the best. If he's in the wrong, fair enough. Like, you know, I don't know that either way. But all I do know is Luca Dean has been at Everton for 3 years. Rafa Benitez has been at Everton 4 months. I'm going to side with Luca Dean at the minute until I'm proven wrong, but I doubt I'm ever going to find that out. So yeah, so that's sort of a little bit of a whistle-stop tour on some updates, really. Dobbin still hasn't signed a new deal, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with that over the next coming weeks, because it's due. It's due. January is a time where he can go. So you've got that issue. But yeah, that is it really, guys. I'm going to leave it there. I'm not going to bore you too much. Christmas Eve tomorrow, so you know, hopefully you've got all your Christmases sorted, and you know, your turkey and your food and all of that stuff. And if you don't celebrate Christmas, well, enjoy a nice break from work or holiday or whatever you get to do. Guys, have a lovely one. I'll see you soon. I'll see you tomorrow for another video. Peace.